By the end of this video, you'll have a working WooCommerce store, complete with your own products, working payments, shipping, and a whole lot more. And you don't need to spend a dime to get there. Now, if you've ever looked up WooCommerce tutorials before, you've probably noticed that they all start with something along the lines of, you need to buy hosting. And look, if you want to have a live website where customers can purchase your products, then yes, you do need hosting. But if you're just learning about WordPress and WooCommerce and you're trying to build your site for the first time, then you don't need to pay for hosting and a domain right away. So today I'll show you how to build a site for free and then how to connect it up with hosting later when you need to. If we haven't met before, I'm Sam from Barn2, and I've made hundreds of WooCommerce tutorials on this YouTube channel before, and this technique is my favorite way to spin up new free websites without having to worry about additional hosting fees. That way you can take your time, experiment, learn, break things, fix them again, or start from scratch if you need to. Then when your store is finally ready, I'll show you how to move it to live hosting at the end of this video. So let's dive in with step 1 now. So like I said, instead of paying for hosting right away, you're going to instead install a free app called LocalWP. It runs WordPress on your computer with no hosting account or domain name needed. Head to localwp.com. The link can be found in the description below this video, as with all the links to any plugins or tools that I'll be using today. You can click on download for free, and then you need to choose your operating system. Give them some details, and then click on get it now. Now, obviously I've already installed this on my own computer, so I'm going to bring up the app now and show you what it looks like. Over on the left side here, you can click on your local sites and see a list of all the sites you've spun up. And then you can click this big plus button to add a new local site. They have different options here like creating from a backup or a blueprint, but we're starting fresh today, so let's create a brand new site and click continue. Now let's give this site a name. It doesn't really matter what it is because you're the only one who's going to see it right now. For the environment, we'll choose preferred and click continue. Now we need to set up a WordPress username and password. You'll need these details for later, so make it something you can remember or at least save it in a note. For the WordPress email, you can use your own email if you want to. Now we'll click on add site. This is going to take just a minute and everything will be installed and set up. When you see the password prompt, make sure to put that through. If you're on Apple computer, you might get a password prompt. Enter that and everything will be working. All right, that didn't take long at all. Our site is already working and we can click on this button here called WP admin to check out the admin of our site. And now we're going to use the username and password that we just entered in LocalWP. Then we can log in. You can also save the password for later if your browser offers it. So this is WordPress running on your own website without hosting or a domain. You can make as many changes as you need to this website, and then I'll show you how to push it live to hosting at the end of the video. When the site first loads, you'll see this dashboard. I'm going to dismiss this notice, and if you want to clean things up and not see anything on the dashboard, you can actually hide the elements by checking these boxes here. Just a little bit of housekeeping that I like to keep things very simple. You can also go to the settings within WordPress and click on general. And here you can actually change the site title and choose a site icon. This is also known as a favicon. While I'm here, I'm going to select a bunch of images and add them into my media library so I can use them later when setting up the website. Don't worry if you don't have these images right now. This is just something that I'm going to show you how to do so you can do it when the images are ready. So I'll choose my Barn2 icon and set it as my site icon. While you're here, you can also set your preferred date and time formats and then click on Save Changes. There are a lot of other settings that you can explore later, but we'll move on to our next step, which is installing the WooCommerce plugin. This is what's going to actually power your e-commerce store running on your WordPress website. From your WordPress dashboard, go to Plugins over here on the left and click on Add Plugin. Now we're going to search for WooCommerce. Find the plugin that's made by Automatic and click on Install Now. That's going to install, and once that's done, you'll click on Activate. Now they're going to give you a little setup wizard here. So we'll click on Set Up My Store, and we can say we're just starting our business. If you add these settings like location and industry, it'll make it a little bit easier to set up your store in terms of things like the currency used and other local settings. When you get to this page here, which suggests a bunch of different plugins, we're actually going to skip this step because we don't want to bloat up our website before we've even started. Now, WooCommerce has given us this little step-by-step program for setting up our store to go live. So the first thing we need to do is add some new products. And that's step 3 for our video. You can click on Add Products, and then you can also select what kind of product you're going to sell. I'm going to sell physical clothing items, so I'll click on that. And then the plugin will walk you through all of the things you need to fill out for the product to be completed. So first we'll give our product a name. I'm going to create a t-shirt product and click on Next. Now we need to give our product a description. I'll just quickly write something. Down here in the product data section, you need to enter the regular price for the product. And if you want to put it on sale, you can also add a sale price. You can also add a short product description, and this will appear in a different place than the main description, so it's up to you. Now we need to add our product images. So we'll click on Set Product Images, and I'll find my t-shirt image, which will be the main featured image. And later I can add additional images in the product gallery here. For now, they want me to add some product tags. I'm going to skip this as it's not that important for me. You can read the description for what tags are and find out whether they're going to be useful for you. I'm actually going to skip this for now, but we are going to add a new category. I'm going to call it clothing, and we'll add that new category, and we'll select only the clothing category for this shirt. And if you want to add a subcategory, for example, shirts, then the parent category can be clothing, and that one will sit beneath the other one in the list. Now the product will sit in both the clothing and the shirts categories. Then we can click on Next. Here's where we can actually publish our product, or we can save it as a draft. I'll click Publish for now. That way we can actually see it on our store. Quick tip, if you haven't set a price for your product, it won't be visible in the store. And if you set it as a draft, it also won't be visible until you publish it. Now I'll scroll down quickly and add one gallery image. This is the t-shirt from the back. And that way there'll be multiple images on the product page. When you want to update a product, you need to click this button here. And then we have a link directly to this product on our website. Let's see how it looks right now. I'll open that in a new tab. We can see that it's on sale. It even gives a sale badge. We have our gallery images, and we can add multiple of these items into our cart and click on Add to Cart. But we'll get to all that later on. I just wanted to show you what it looks like after you've created the product. Now let's click on All Products, and we can see our list of products that we've made so far. There are a few things you can do here, like adding this star to feature the product. And if you want to change what's visible in this table, you can do so with the screen options up at the top here. Now we've created a simple product, but there are other types of products we can add. The one I want to show you today is a variable product. That means the product has different variations like colors and sizes. So let's add those now. Click on Add New Product, and we'll give it a name, and we'll scroll down, and instead of the simple product, we'll select variable product. Now the Woo plugin is prompting us to create some attributes. We'll click on Got It, and just for the moment, I'm going to save a draft of this product so we can come back to it later, and we'll go straight over to the Attributes tab on the left here. It's important to create the attributes here because then they can be applied to any products that you make in the future. We can add a name like color and click on Add Attribute, and then we can do the same for size. Now you'll notice that this is just some text, color and size. We haven't actually picked which colors or sizes are available. We can do that by clicking on Configure Terms. We'll add a new color. Let's go with blue, white, red, and green. I'll go back to my attributes list, and you can see all the colors are there. And now I'll configure the sizes. I'll keep this simple today and just go for small, medium, and large. Now I'll go back to my product list and find my draft product and click on Edit. There. then I can add the other terms for this product. Then I can update this product with all of those attributes. So we'll click on this attributes tab, add existing, color, and size, select all the values, and click on save attributes. Now we go to this variations tab and we generate the variations with this button here. The plugin will give us a little notice, which tells us that we're going to create a lot of variations doing this, and we'll click OK. And immediately we have all these different variations for our product. But you'll notice that if you click on them individually, they are missing a lot of details, including especially the price. We can quickly add the prices by clicking here, and we'll set a regular price for all of them. Now I'll just update some of the product data, like the category, and I'll set a main product image as well as gallery images. Quick tip, if you want to set up specific images for each of the individual variations, you can do so by clicking here, but that's going to take me a long time, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Now I can finally publish my product, and let's view it on the front end. Now, instead of having the option to add to cart straight away, I first have to choose the various options. And if I've set up an image for each of the variations, then the thumbnail will actually update when I choose that specific product. Once I've chosen those, I can add it to cart. If you want the full breakdown on how variable products work, I've actually created an entire video for that, which you can watch up in the cards here, and I'll also link it in the description below this video. But right now, our WordPress site is using a default WordPress theme, which is not really built for WooCommerce. So before we get to things like setting up payments and shipping, where we move on to step 4, installing your first theme and getting your site ready for customers to visit it. Back on the WordPress dashboard, we're going to go to Appearance and click on Themes. We can see our active theme here, and we can click on Add Theme to find a new one. This is similar to plugins in that we can search for whatever theme we want. There are many themes out there, all of which have similar settings and can get you quite far. Today, I'll be using this Blocksy theme because I like the editing options that are available, and I think it looks really clean out of the box. We'll click on Install, and once that's done, we can click on Activate. Once that's been activated, it's going to prompt us to install the Blocksy companion, which I'm going to do as well, because that will add functionality that you may need later on. Now, it might be worth taking a second to explain a little bit more about themes. Themes are not the same as plugins. Plugins add some kind of functionality to your site, but themes, they're the canvas which your site uses to display different content on. What I mean by that is a theme will control things like colors, typography, and spacing for the different content on your site, whereas plugins change the way that your site actually works in some unique way. Once we've installed a theme, we can actually click on Appearance and then Customize in order to change the settings of the site. But we won't be able to make too many changes yet because we don't actually have any content for the site to update. So let's go back and I'll show you this list of starter sites that you could use. Starter sites are like templates. Once you add them, then all of those images and layouts are going to be on your site for you to edit. This can save you a lot of time, especially if you're setting up a site for the first time and you're not really familiar with how all the different functions work and how to get the best design options. But the downside is that you will have to update the images and text, and you probably won't really learn how these things are built in the first place. Today, I want to show you how to actually build things so that you can do it for yourself. And then if you want to install a starter site, that's entirely up to you. So case in point, take for example, this furniture option. This is what it would look like if we installed this on our site. We would get this menu, get all of these different blocks, which show off our products on our homepage. It's certainly very visually appealing and interesting, but again, it's not going to teach you how to actually build these things. So instead, we'll go to the Appearance and Customize menu, and we'll start off with some really general things like colors and typography. Here is a global palette generator for your site. And you can see here that the base text color is this dark color here, and all of my heading colors are set up here, as well as things like links, text selection, and borders. Blocksy has actually done a great job of setting up these colors for me, and I'm not really interested in changing them today because it'll just take forever. So instead, we can move on to typography, and we can update the size of the fonts if we need to. This will impact text like you see here. Let me show you what I mean. If you need to update the fonts or sizes of those fonts for your entire website, then you can do that here. Of course, if you want to edit individual pieces of content, then you can change the sizes and fonts for those things as well. But that won't affect the rest of your site. Just be aware that you have the option to update fonts globally using your theme's customization. Another thing we can update is this tagline here, and we can change it into a logo if we have one. I'll select a logo, and that's going to replace my site title once I disable it here. Once we make some changes, we can click on Publish, and that's going to save. Okay, I'm tired of seeing this default content here. Let's actually update the homepage of your website. And we'll go to our pages here and we'll click on Add Page. Now it's going to give us a little welcome screen for this page editor. You can read how this works and skip through it. This page we're just going to title as Home, and we're going to immediately publish this, and I'll show you why in just a second. We can first exit this page editor, and then we can go to Settings and click on Reading. And now we're going to set that page that we just created as our static home page. And click on Home, the page we just created, and click on Save Changes. Now, whenever somebody visits your website, instead of seeing a random post, they'll see the homepage that you set up right now. So we can go back to our pages, click on Home, and Edit. Now you're seeing a kind of blank page here. So let me show you how to add something new. We can click on this plus button called the block inserter, and this is how we can actually add different content to our website using these things called blocks. If we want a cover for our page, then we can click and drag this block in here. And now we have a cover block. I can choose a featured image for this cover block from my media library. So I'll do that now. And then we can write text. But I'm actually interested in adding columns into this cover block. So I'll come down here into the design section and I'll find columns and drag and drop them in here and choose the column layout that I want. I'll go with 50-50 for now. If I want to see the content that I've already added, I can do so here, and I can click and drag this paragraph text into the column that I want it to be in. I'll go back and add a heading as well, and I'll drag that into the column. And now I can write my heading for my site. I can change the font size by clicking here, and I can change the layout by clicking on these options here. I'm not going to spend too much time making this design look perfect, but I do want you to get the idea of how these kinds of designs are made. If you know that there's something you want to add, like a button, and you just can't find it in this list, you can also search for it. We'll add a button into our left column here, and we can add the text. And if we want to select any of the content or columns that we've already been working on, we can do so over here just by clicking on this overview button. I'm going to change the design of this a little bit by going over here, and I'm going to add some padding on the left hand side just to bring it out a little bit. I'll also check out this cover block, and you can see how the image is positioned as well as the image resolution. I'm going to make it full size. One more thing I want to do is reduce the opacity so we can see the image in its full color, and then I'll click on Save. Now we've already added our hero block to the top of our page. We can continue adding more blocks so that people can find our products on our store from our homepage. To do that, I'll click on Add one more time, and I'll search for WooCommerce. And these are all the WooCommerce related blocks that we might need. For example, I could add a block for featured products. If you click the star icon in your product list on any of those products, it's going to actually bring them up into this list here, and I can select one of those products to feature in this block. And that's going to come with the price and the button already preloaded. Now I could also add a product collection block, and that's going to ask me what kind of products I want to add. In this case, I want to add products by category, and I'll choose the clothing category. Then I can click on done. Now, obviously we only have a few products loaded into our site right now. So once we have a few more products, it'll fill out this list nicely. And by digging in, you can see all of the different display options here. Right, and I mentioned that I didn't want this section to take all day, so I just wanted to give you a general idea of how you can update your homepage using the blocks over here on the left. If you're using a page builder like Elementor, then this process will be similar, but just a little bit different. Now I'm going to save that homepage, and let's check it out by clicking this view button. Now I do have one little issue, which is that this home icon is still showing, and I can actually fix that in my theme settings. I'll click on customize, and that's going to bring me into the theme customizer. Now I can click on edit where this section says home, click on design, and I can choose to hide the title and excerpt of pages, and then click on publish. And if I want to hide that space entirely, I can actually click on this content area vertical spacing option, and that's going to bring my blocks right up to the top, and I can click on publish. Now when I refresh my home page, that little home thing has gone away and all my blocks are looking a lot better. Again, I want to stress this is not a perfect design, but it's a system which you can use to design your website in any way that you want to. One other thing you might have noticed is that our navigation menu isn't quite looking the way we want it to. So let's customize that as well. We'll click on customize, and then we'll click on the menu up here, the little blue dots, and we can choose a menu design that suits us. But assuming we already like this design, then we need to update our menu. You'll notice that there's only a default option here because we haven't actually created a custom menu yet. So we will click on publish, but we're not quite done. We'll click on the X to leave the customizer, and we'll head back to our dashboard. From the dashboard, we'll click on appearance, and then we can click on menus. Now we don't have a menu yet, so we'll give a menu a name and click on create. And then we can choose all the pages that we want to add into our menu. We can select them all. I'll remove this sample page and we'll click on add to menu. First, click on view all so you can see all the pages. Then you can select them all minus this sample page and click on add to menu. Over here on the right, you can change the order of these items by clicking and dragging them. If you want to create sub-menu items, you simply click and drag the item over to the right. And now this is going to be a sub-item of this main one. I'm also interested in adding my WooCommerce categories. So I have to go up here to my screen options and then click on product categories. And then when I scroll back down, I can see this option here for clothing, shirts and shoes, and we're going to add them into the menu. Now they've all been added as top level items. So I'm going to click and drag them beneath my shop as sub items. And that's going to create this hierarchical structure for our menu. Now that we like the way this menu is looking and it has all of our pages, we can click on save, then go back to the customizer, click on the menu again, and you can select the main menu and click on publish. Excellent. So now our menu is working with our home page, our shop page, and all of the sub items in between. If you need to update the colors, then you can also do that in the customizer. I'm not going to do that right now just to save some time. The last thing I'll show you is that if you click on customize once again from the shop page, you can actually change how this shop page looks by scrolling down until you find WooCommerce and click on the product archives. And now we can change the general design of our store shop page. And by decreasing the number of columns, we can make these tiles look bigger. We can even just add 2 per row if we want. And we can update the design of how the add to cart buttons and prices look as well. There are a lot more options, so I'll leave it up to you to look through them. And again, you can disable the page title if you don't want it to be there. Though I think in the case of the shop, it kind of makes sense. You might even want to add an image to this as well. All right, give yourselves a pat on the back. It's time to move on to step 5, setting up our payments so we can collect money from our customers when they want to buy our products. Again, we'll go back to the dashboard of our WordPress site, and you'll notice that it does say payments here. This is part of the WooCommerce setup, and it's going to offer us to set up WooCommerce payments or payments with PayPal. You are perfectly allowed to do that if you want to, but I'm going to recommend something slightly different. Instead, we're going to go to our plugins and we're going to look for different plugins that are actually more highly rated and they're going to work better for your store in the long run. In the search, I'm going to type in payment plugins for WooCommerce and wait for that to load up. Again, you'll see the default options at the top here, but the ones that I'm interested are payment plugins for Stripe WooCommerce and payment plugins for PayPal WooCommerce. Stripe is for collecting card payments and things like Apple or Google Pay, and PayPal works with PayPal, obviously. Once those are installed, you can activate them one by one, and it's going to direct you immediately to set up PayPal, and I can also activate the Stripe option here. Now within my plugin list for WooCommerce, we have PayPal and Stripe plugins here. Let's start with PayPal and we'll click on settings. Now to set this up, we're going to create a sandbox environment. That means that everything is going to be in test mode and we're not going to collect any real payments until much later on in this process. We can click to connect with our actual PayPal account. If you don't have a PayPal business account, then you will be prompted to create one through this dialog here. So just follow the prompts within this pop-up, connect to your PayPal account, and it's going to load everything for you. Confirm that it's working in sandbox mode and enter any of the details that they require. Once that's connected successfully, then PayPal should be showing up on your checkout. And we'll test that a little later on. We'll basically do the same thing for Stripe. We'll click on the Stripe settings. We'll make sure it's in test mode and we'll click to connect with our Stripe account. Again, if you don't have a Stripe account, you'll be prompted to create one on the Stripe website. Okay, so we're all set up in test mode and sandbox mode to accept payments on our website, which I'll show you how to do a little later on. Then you can go through and check that credit and debit cards are enabled. And you can also try enabling Apple Pay and Google Pay as well. Doing so for your live site will mean you will need to register your domain and have a secure connection with SSL. We don't have that all set up right now because we're just creating things locally. So that will have to be done at a later time, just letting you know. So now with payments configured, let's move on to step 6 and talk about shipping. Shipping can be found in the WooCommerce settings in this tab here, and the Woo plugin is going to prompt us to set up some shipping zones. Notice here that the zone matches the region that I told Woo I was in earlier in this video. You can run through their tooltip and then you can see what other options are available here. Basically, the way shipping is set up in WooCommerce is you have shipping zones. And if you offer a shipping method, then you can set it up within that zone. One thing I would recommend is don't create new zones for shipping to locations that you can't actually ship to. Because if you create the zone and add a shipping method, but you don't have any actual way to ship to customers, then you're going to run into some real problems when somebody from Iceland orders your products and you have no way to ship it there. So with that said, if you want to add a new zone, then you can give that zone a name and you can start typing in the different regions, and then you can add shipping methods here. The easiest one to apply is a flat rate, where you simply add a cost for the shipping, say $10, and then you save it. But given that shipping can be such a variable thing in terms of price, I don't actually recommend doing this for your live store. Instead, it might be a good idea to install a good shipping plugin. WooCommerce shipping is the default option, but there are other great options out there as well, and you might just need to do a little bit of research. By the way, if you want to add a free shipping tier after a certain amount of money is spent, then we can click on Edit and add a shipping method. This time we can click on free shipping, and then we'll click on a minimum order amount, and we can set that number here. Now all you have to do is add a store notice to inform customers that they can get free shipping over a certain amount of money spent. Okay, don't run away just yet, because in step 7, we're going to briefly talk about taxes. If we go to the Settings General tab, then we need to scroll down and find a little thing here under Taxes and Coupons called Enable Taxes. If you click this box and then Save Changes, you're going to get a brand new tab next to shipping here. And this is where you can actually configure and set up taxes for your store. Now, note that this video is not going to go into the details of how you should actually set up your taxes. That's for your accountant or lawyer to inform you. But I will tell you that you can set up tax rates within the plugin, or you can add a companion plugin for setting up taxes more locally, and it's going to actually calculate taxes for your region or for the region of the customer. There are some great plugins that you can find, for example, here on the WooCommerce marketplace. And then there are also some great resources on WooCommerce.com for how to set up taxes in the first place. Now we're doing a great job so far. Let's move on to step number 8 and talk about some great free plugins that I recommend for every WooCommerce shop and WordPress sites in general. Something that every site needs is an SEO plugin. For example, Rank Math SEO. With this plugin, you can control how products and your pages show up within Google. And this includes things like title tags, meta descriptions, sitemaps. So basically, if you want customers to be able to find you through Google search, you need an SEO plugin. Another great idea is to get your site secured with something like WordFence security. Security plugins are one of the only ways to ensure that you're not going to get hacked and have all of your customer data leaked to the public. It's free to install, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Something that's easy to overlook, but also really important: WordPress does not actually do a great job of sending out emails. So in order for your store to send out lots of emails to customers for things like order confirmations, you will need to set up an additional plugin. This WP Mail SMTP by WP Forms is a great option because it'll help you to route your emails through a legitimate service like Brevo or a Gmail account, for example. And just note that email sending will not work through your local site. You'll need to be connected through hosting in order for this to work at all. Updraft Plus is a great plugin for creating backups of your site. That way, if anything goes wrong while you're building something or installing different plugins, you can always revert back to an older version of your site that's working. That way, you're not going to lose out on sales if you break something on your site by accident. And last but certainly not least, Advanced Custom Fields is the best plugin for adding unique types of content to your site, which aren't offered in the WordPress CRM by default. What I mean by that is if you want to add custom metadata to your products, create new types of categories or taxonomies, the possibilities are really quite limitless. And the best part, it's free and lightweight, and pretty much everyone I know recommends this plugin. All right, for step 9, we're going to run through an actual test checkout just to make sure everything's working properly. Here I am on my shop page, and I'm going to add a product to my cart and click on View Cart. And by the way, you can use your theme customizer to edit how this cart looks, as well as the checkout, of course. You can see I've got 2 items, one I added earlier and one just now, and I'll proceed to checkout. Now I can see I have a free shipping option available. It's always a good idea to check that ahead of time. And I'm going to add some shipping details, just some fake details for now. And at the moment, I can see that I have the payment option for a credit or a debit card open. If I click on Pay Another Way, then it'll show me all of the credit card entry details. To test a fake card with Stripe, you just need to enter this number here. It's just 4242 repeating until you have 16 digits. Then you can set any date in the future and any security code, and then we'll click on Place Order to see if it's working. Great. Now it says, thank you, your order has been received. And if we go back to our website, click on WooCommerce and orders, we can actually see that this order just came through and it's in the status of processing because it's just a test payment. So at this point, we have a functioning WooCommerce store, at least on our local site. And with just a little bit more work, it'll look even better. Of course, I have tons of tutorials on our own YouTube channel for how to design, upgrade, and improve your website, but you can also search for these things on Google and YouTube and find all kinds of great tutorials for improving the look and feel of your store. But the best thing is that while you're doing all that testing and learning, you're not paying money to the hosting companies. But when the day finally comes for you to push your site live, let's find out how to do that in step 10. So I'll assume by now that your site looks and works exactly the way you want it to after all that testing and trial and error on LocalWP. So for step 10, we're going to bring your site into the real world. Put it online with hosting and a domain. If you're not familiar, hosting is where your site lives on the internet. It's basically like you are hiring some servers which keep your site online throughout the entire world. And a domain name is just the address that people use to get there. It's like Amazon.com, Google.com, or your very first WooStore.com. Now, there are plenty of hosting providers out there, and at Barn2, we are quite agnostic about which hosting you use. The main thing is that it provides what you need for the level of traffic that your site is going to get, and provides the services you may need in addition to that. Here at Barn2, we use Kinsta for our hosting plans because we need to keep our site running through quite a lot of traffic, and we have a lot of special requirements that we need. So even though they're more expensive than shared hosting, it's worth it because they meet our needs. If you're just starting out, you might like SiteGround, for example. They have really inexpensive plans, and you can start off with shared hosting, which means that you won't get the same performance, but you don't really need it, especially when your site is so new. Another great thing about SiteGround is you can actually buy your domain directly through them. You can search for a domain name here, and you can see how much it will cost. samswoostore.com will cost only 18 euros per year, and you can change that to .eu, .net, or whatever you need, depending on your region. So once you select a hosting plan and sign up, you can go through the options to create a new fresh WordPress site. And that will be where we import our current site into. The easiest way to do the export and import is with a plugin, like this one here, all-in-one WP migration and backup. All you need to do is go to the new site you created with your hosting service, like SiteGround, for example, and then you're going to install and activate the all-in-one WP migration plugin. Then head back to your site that you've been working on and do the same thing. So you'll head to the plugins page and click on add plugin, and then you can search for it here, or in my case, I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to upload it into this box here and install it. Then click on activate, and you'll get a new menu item on the left here. We'll click on export on the site that we want to make a copy of, and we'll click on export site to and choose file. When you download the file in your browser, make sure that you select to keep the file, otherwise it won't be recognized. Then go to your new site, find all-in-one WP migration and click on import. Then click import from file and drag and drop that file into the importer, and then click proceed. We'll finish that import and check that everything came through. Awesome. So now we can see the products that I just set up during this video, and these are loaded into our new site. Now we do just have to double check a couple of things after migration. First, make sure that your site URL has an SSL certificate. At the moment, this site doesn't have it, and I can use my hosting provider and the tools within their dashboard in order to set up this SSL certificate and get it to be a secured URL. Then go back to the PayPal and Stripe settings from those plugins that we installed, and make sure that the payment modes are switched from test to live, and then actually run through a live test with a live real payment and check that the money is going through. Then last thing, go to site visibility. You can click here on coming soon, and you can switch it from coming soon into live, and then click on save changes, and that will actually mean that your website is live on the internet. Do take a moment to go through the other settings here, like the accounts and privacy, emails, integrations, and anything else relevant to you. It's worth looking through all the settings and following some additional tutorials to make sure that you've set everything up just the way you like it. And that's how you can build a WooCommerce store from scratch without having to pay for hosting first. If you're planning on managing a lot of products, then I suggest watching this video next. I have a great playlist for WooCommerce fundamentals, which you can watch here, and click this link here to see barn2.com and all the great plugins that we offer. That's all from me, and of course, thanks for watching.